On this video, we'll talk about 3 players that are getting drafted inside the top 50 that have more risk than many are acknowledging. I'm Seslowsky, and thanks for tuning back into RosterWatch. Fantasy football players have a difficult time escaping recency bias. It's a leak in many of our games. We often draft players in the first couple of rounds that don't have long track records of sustained success. We draft these players with rose-colored glasses, often only seeing the upside. This is not to say that we shouldn't take high-risk players in the first 4 or 5 rounds of our fantasy drafts, but rather we should do a better job acknowledging the risks that go along with those players. Here are 3 players that RosterWatch has identified as high-risk, high-reward players. The first player is Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver on the Minnesota Vikings. His average draft position is currently 20, right in the middle of the second round. There's no denying that Justin Jefferson is a special talent. He set the rookie receiving record in 2020 with 1,400 yards. That record was previously held by Aquan Bolden for the last 16 seasons, who finished with 1,377 yards. Justin Jefferson will have continuity at quarterback, no threat to his target share, and presumably will continue to improve. The risk is that it is a relatively small sample size over one season. We have seen rookie wide receivers come in and dominate and then fall short of expectations in year 2. Most recently, Juju Smith-Schuster, who set the league on fire his rookie season and then finished as the wide receiver 50 the following year. RosterWatch acknowledges that Jefferson looks like an outlier talent, but there is risk that is not being acknowledged by his mid-second round ADP. RosterWatch endorses taking Jefferson at the end of the second round, but there may be lean weeks as defenses start to roll coverages his way in 2021. The second player we're going to talk about is Travis Kelce, the tight end on the Kansas City Chiefs. His ADP is 6 overall, the middle of the first round. Understanding that Travis Kelce was a league-winning pick in 2020, we're still running away from his ADP in 2021. Taking Kelce in the middle of the first round assumes that he will build on his historic season from last year. The market is assuming that Kelce will be as dominant over the field of tight ends as he was in 2020. First-round tight end, and especially a mid-first-round tight end, has a poor history of results. Those who have been playing fantasy football for the better part of a half-decade remember when Rob Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham were first-round fantasy picks. RosterWatch still believes Travis Kelce is in the late peak of his powers, but strongly advises fading him in the middle of the first round. If your draft strategy is to take a tight end early, it is an optimal pivot to take Darren Waller in the second round with just as much PPR upside as Travis Kelce. The third player we're going to talk about today is Kyle Pitts, the tight end on the Atlanta Falcons. The rookie is being taken at the end of the 4th round, beginning of the 5th round. There is no bigger elephant in the room than Kyle Pitts. The obvious risk is that rookie tight ends have not performed well historically for fantasy football. You have to go all the way back to Jeremy Shockey's 2002 season to find a tight end that performed well in year 1. Shockey's final stat line for that year was 74 catches for 894 yards and only 2 touchdowns. An impressive rookie season, but hardly a difference-making season for tight ends in fantasy football. Those touting Pitts believe he is more of a split-out wide receiver type than an inline, hand-in-the-ground player, similar to Calvin Johnson. A quick internet search reveals Megatron's rookie stats with a modest 48 catches, 756 yards, and only 4 touchdowns. Similar to the rest of the players on this video, RosterWatch acknowledges the upside and the high reward that comes with drafting Kyle Pitts. We do need to acknowledge, though, that there is more risk with Pitts than the draft market is accounting for. Okay, RosterWatch Nation, that's it for today. Remember to like and subscribe to this video to get notifications when we put up more video content. And leave us a comment. Let us know which players you believe are high risk, high reward, getting drafted in 2021. Until next time, goodbye.